Alright, we will continue our look at early comic strips um, with the next couple pages of the Smithsonian Book of Newspaper Comics. We'll look at comics 11 through 14, which are some samples of Little Nemo and Slumberland from 1908. So these sample pages are a couple years after the ones in the giant oversized calendar we've looked at before, which were from 1906. But first, the next page of the Encyclopedia of Comics. The pages that we saw before were a general introduction. The next dozen or so pages are a chronology of the 100 pages of the first 100 years of newspaper comics. And so here we have a black and white example of the Yellow Kid from 1897. Now this is very difficult to read. I'm sure the original was much larger, but even so, the general idea is that the Yellow Kid has rented an automobile, a horseless carriage, for a joyride for all of the ragamuffins. The ragamuffins being Irish and German immigrant children, and so they're just sort of having a crazy circus time. And as we've seen before with artwork of this period, the panel sort of tells many stories at once. So this is not meant to be a snapshot. This is not a photograph of a specific moment. Instead, these are different moments sort of put together. So one guy getting run over, some people trying to get in, a horse being startled, pets or animals getting caught on the automobile, people falling down. So if you were to treat this as a story, you'd have many panels and each one would be happening separately. But instead, you're supposed to read it all at once, like a Where's Waldo panel. So anyway, let's go to these Little Nemos. So we have four Sunday Little Nemos that tell the story of Nemo, Flip, and I forget this Imp's name. I'll just call him Imp. And they get trapped in Befuddle Hall. And this is really an excuse for Winsor McCay to be very creative with the panel layout and things like that. Once again, the dialogue tends to tell us what we already know. The only thing that's really important is they say, "We are lost in Befuddle Hall." And so here, the panels get longer, and the characters get stretched out like they're in a hall of mirrors. And this is just so creative. It's such a wonderful use of the cartoon medium. Look how long this panel is. Look how extended and distorted they are, just like they're in a hall of mirrors. Now, one thing I do find interesting is this magical character, Imp. He smokes a cigar, and we will see this later on with Barnaby and his magical friend, Mr. O'Malley, smokes a cigar and kind of uses his cigar as a wand. So from the very beginning of comics, we have this archetype story of the boy and his magical companion going through dreamland. And the next Sunday, I'm going to assume this is the next Sunday, and the next part of the hall, they come to what is a picture book, or what they call a book of Valentines. And they turn the pages, and what's interesting about this is you can really see how Winsor McCay really makes these pages look three-dimensional. You can see how the text gets truncated as they turn the pages. Some of these are characters we really haven't seen before, like there's Dr. Pill. We haven't seen this, the Candy Kid. And there's the Imp. The Imp seems to be some type of magical jungle creature. Anyway, the next page this is very creative. So they come to the next place at Befuddle Hall, and look at this beautiful architecture. I mean, this is just some wonderful rendering. And we see that the whole hall is upside down. So there's the chairs, the candles are upside down, there's the floor, so they have to crawl upwards, up these chairs, sort of like when Mary Poppins has a tea party on the ceiling, and see now they're underneath the table. I mean, that's just wonderful. And of course, Nemo is sort of tumbling out of bed. He's not quite upside down. And then in this last sequence, the world is sideways, so we have, once again, an excuse to have this beautiful rendering, this three-dimensional rendering of architecture. I mean, this is really quite breathtaking to see, and it's wonderful to see that the very beginning of the comic medium had such quality here for the line art. And this is a really good panel here, because you look at that and you just want to turn the page around or look around and just look at this. It's some type of city out of the Arabian Nights. It's sort of this dream city of unknown Kadath in a way. And of course Nemo falls out of bed. So those are some early examples of the comics. And then tomorrow we will look at Nibsy the Newsboy and the Kinder Kids. And I'll talk to you next time. Goodbye.